Nina can't stop comparing her life to her old friend Lara's perfect life. But when she visits Lara's hometown, everything she thought she knew is challenged. What's the real story behind the posts? And what will Nina do when the truth comes to light? Welcome to her storyline, where stories don't just entertain. They reflect real emotions. Every night, she scrolled, not because she was looking for something, but because it had become a habit she couldn't break. And somehow, she always ended up on her page. Her was Lara. Her old friend from university now seemed like the perfect woman. Her feed was full of smiling pictures, sunset beach walks with her husband, luxury vacations, birthday surprises, and handwritten love notes. Nina blinked at the screen, lying in bed beside a man who hadn't said more than 5 words to her all day. She turned to look at David. He was already asleep. She looked back at her phone and whispered to herself, "How did her life get so perfect, and mine fall so flat?" The next morning, she dragged herself to the kitchen. Her husband, David, handed her a cup of coffee and tried to start a small conversation, but she just nodded and sat down, picking up her phone again. There it was, another post from Lara. Maldives. Clear blue water, white robes, laughter in the captions. Nina's eyes dropped. She's living. I'm just here, she thought. She walked to the bathroom and stood in front of the mirror. The woman staring back at her looked exhausted. No makeup, eye bags, a fading spark. She looked at her reflection and muttered, "She's winning, and I'm falling apart." From the hallway, David quietly watched her. He didn't say a word. At work, Nina couldn't concentrate. Her computer screen was open, but her eyes were glued to her phone. She read another caption from Lara. "Strong women don't cry. They sparkle." Nina's throat tightened. A single tear rolled down her cheek. That evening at dinner, the silence between her and David grew louder. He made a joke about the burnt chicken. She barely blinked. "You want to talk?" he finally asked gently. "You won't understand," she replied, without looking up. Later that night, she pulled out her wedding album. She looked at the photos, her and David dancing, laughing, glowing with joy. A real moment once upon a time. Wasn't I once like her? Nina asked herself. The more she scrolled through Lara's page, the more her own life felt like a faded copy of something better. Finally, she threw her phone to the other side of the couch and whispered, "I can't do this anymore." The next morning, Nina woke up on the couch, wrapped in a blanket. David sat beside her. He said softly, "That wedding next weekend. It's in Lara's town, right? Let's go. A change of air might help." She hesitated, but nodded. Maybe she needed to get away. As they drove through the countryside, Nina stared out the window. For the first time, she didn't check her phone. When it buzzed in her lap, she didn't look. It felt strange, but freeing. The wedding was loud, colorful, and full of energy. Nina smiled politely, but her heart was somewhere else. Then she overheard someone whispering, "Did you hear? Lara's back in town. Divorced, I think." Nina froze. Divorced? David saw the change in her face. "Are you okay?" "I just need a minute," she said, walking away from the noise. She didn't know what she was doing. Her feet led her out of the party and toward Lara's childhood home. Nina stood outside a quiet house. She took a deep breath and knocked. The door opened. Lara stood there. No makeup, messy hair, dark eyes, nothing like her glowing pictures. "Nina?" Lara blinked. "I didn't know you were in town." They sat at a small table inside, sipping tea. It was quiet for a long time. "You look surprised," Lara said finally. "I thought you were happy," Nina replied, almost in a whisper. Lara let out a small, tired laugh. I used to be, then I wasn't. But the pictures, those were all from the past. I kept posting them because I didn't want people to know I failed. Nina stared at her. You're divorced. Lara nodded. He left last year, and I didn't want to deal with the judgment. Nina's heart ached. I spent months feeling like I was drowning, comparing my life to yours. I never meant to hurt anyone, Lara said. I was just trying to hold myself together. They looked at each other, and this time truly saw one another. Nina reached across the table and held her hand. Lara opened her phone and showed Nina her saved drafts. Photos with filters, old anniversary trips reposted with fresh captions, smiling pictures taken long before the heartbreak. Nina shook her head. I was jealous of this. I thought I was inspiring people, Lara said, but maybe I was only making others feel more broken. Nina took a deep breath. It wasn't your fault. I let it get to me, but I think I owe myself some peace now. She pulled out her own phone, opened Instagram, searched Lara's profile, and with a deep breath, clicked unfollow. Lara looked at her, surprised. It's not out of hate, Nina said. It's to heal. They both smiled and laughed. This time, it wasn't forced. Days passed. Nina began waking up without checking her phone. She kissed David good morning, made breakfast, and even played music while getting ready for work. She laughed with her co-workers, stayed focused, and didn't scroll during lunch. She finally felt like herself again. One afternoon, her friend asked, "You seem so different lately. What changed?" Nina smiled. "I just stopped comparing and started living again." That night, she sat beside David on the couch. No phones, just them, just now. In the quiet, she whispered, "Thank you for not giving up on me." He smiled and held her hand. And somewhere, deep in her soul, Nina realized something important. She didn't need filters. She didn't need fake captions. She just needed real moments, real love, real peace. She thought she was failing because of someone else's fake success. But healing came not from hate, not from pretending, but from letting go. Sometimes unfollowing is self-love. Not everything online is real. People share highlights, not heartbreaks. And the more we compare, the more we forget our own worth. Sometimes healing begins with a quiet choice, to step back, to unfollow, and to focus on what's real. Because real joy doesn't need a filter, it just needs to be felt.